On May 10th, 2023, Vladimir Putin got very surprised. At least that was what Russian propaganda told us. He learned how many Russians left Russia. You ask me, how is this possible? Commander in chief, the person who made the decision to attack Ukraine and give an order to start killing Ukrainians, the ruler of all Russia, the Tsar, the almighty Putin, and for 6 months he didn't know how many Russians left the country? Now I'll answer you. Bullcrap. Folks, of course he knew. Come on, give me a break. What happened a few days ago was just another part of a grand play, the grand plan, the grand show. The show of seizing, the plan of seizing the power, seizing the complete and utter control over Russia and Russian citizens. The goal of the plan is to restrict domestic travels, to have complete control on citizens and businesses' money, so they can be frozen at any time, seized at any time, to ban protests, to eradicate free speech, to introduce indoctrination, and other not so wonderful things. But folks, all those measures, they are rendered meaningless if people are allowed to leave the country. The worst government control becomes, the more control power the government grabs over, people, the more people leave, the more decide to exit the freak show, And this is the most ultimate freedom, to leave and live anywhere else, okay? And this is the last freedom. And in this stream, I'll try to explain how Russian government has been trying to complete grabbing the control over people and over the country. And of course, it has worked silently and in small steps, what I call a stepping stone strategy. Howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where I give you important daily updates that explain what's really happening inside Russia. What you will not find here, as usual, propaganda, BS, and lies. What you will find is common sense, truth, and logic. And emotions too, because I am a human being. Inside Russia is where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. For the first 30 or so minutes, I give you a daily message, and then I invite to carry on to a live stream chat where we converse and I answer questions. I like that very much. Thank you for coming, and thank you for giving me a chance to tell you more of what's currently happening in Russia and how Russian government has been working. Thank you for giving me a chance to... Looks like you can see and hear me. So let's talk about people leaving. What's most important thing for any country? What's most important asset of any country? That's right, people. People, at the end, they are the country. It's all about people. We are the people. That's in any normal civilized country. People are ultimate value of country, any country. Well, for the most countries, but there are very few countries exists that aren't organized like that. Among those few are North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, and now my motherland, Russia. In those few countries, the ultimate asset, the thing of the country is the government. But the government is not a faceless thing, So I'll be more precise. In any government, there are few people who control the government. I'll be even more precise. It's one person with ultimate power. It's always a circle of trusted people around that person, close friends, family, and a number of government employees, uh, if you go down below, who ensure that the government does not let power slip away. Let's put it this way: security force, police, army, etc. So called oppression machine. All government people enjoy power over common folks. And they enjoy, good pay, food, shelters, and usually the common folks, they're the ones who are suffering. And this is how oppressive governments work. There's no exception. All of them work in the very same, similar way. All are the same. And my country, Russia, has recently joined the club. So, all oppressive governments have one thing in common: they do not let people leave their countries at will. Because if people allowed to leave, the entire model falls apart. Why would you suffer oppression from your government, if you could just get up, pack your stuff, and leave and, go to another place? After a short after a short while, country would be empty, right? But when you make a prison, first thing you do is you lock up the cells. Well, that's a brief introduction. And now let's talk about Russia. Hey, this is Inside Russia after all, and I don't want to talk about Cuba or North Korea or Venezuela. I want to talk about Russia. First, let's take a look a few steps. Let's take a few steps back and take a look what happened, in recent history. February 24th, 2022, Russia attacks Ukraine, starts killing Ukrainians. Many of us in Russia are shocked by the decision, and to some people, it's personal tragedy. Some people, not too many, but a few, quite a few actually, decide they don't want to take a part of the crime and they leave. They get up and they leave Russia. At that point, Russia is still open for everyone to leave. The gate is open. No questions asked, basically. From different experts, we can learn different estimates, but they vary from 500,000 to 1 million people left from February 24th to September 21st in about six months. Now, those people were not forced to leave. There was no threat, at least at first, to their lives, to their freedom. It was their conscience decision because, again, they didn't want to take a part of that. So the gates of Russia were wide open for everyone on the way out. People were leaving and leaving and leaving in the 6 months that followed the invasion. And on September 21st, 2022, a milestone happened. Vladimir Putin, of course, announced the mobilization. Russian army ran out of soldiers, and a decision to mobilize 350,000 people officially, unofficially, God knows how many, was made, and Vladimir Putin signed the mobilization decree. Well, guess what happened then? Plain and simple, the exodus. Hundreds of thousands of Russian men, mostly of age from 11 to mid 40s, left the country at once at the same time. I know what was happening in Russia at that time very well because I was a part of that exodus. I left the country on September 27th, shortly after midnight. I was seeing a horrendous picture around me as I was leaving. I'll never forget that picture ever. Hordes of Russian men, the wives and children seeing them off at airports, men crying, women crying, children crying. Everyone, all men, with their shoulders down, looking down. Their looks like someone just sucked life out of their eyes. Depression, well, not depression, depression is a long term thing, but uncertainty, despair, fear. Um, I know very well. I've been there, I've done that. For the most part, the gate of Russia was still open, although it was already in motion closing. To give you an example what I mean, they were five young men standing in the queue in line right in front of me to the passport control booth at Domodedovo airport. And guess what? All five of them were not allowed to leave Russia. On September 27th, 2022, they were turned down. The reasons I don't remember. I didn't ask no one. Just I know that's the fact. They were turned down, and I still remember. I looked in one guy's eyes as he was walking back past me, past the line. I looked into his eyes, and he was walking and looking. He was looking like he was already dead. But most of us in those days, we left the country. We set ourselves free. What was happening in those days on the government side was, and it was clearly seen and understood, was complete lack of coordination between government agencies. Russian government is notorious for the lack of communication and coordination when something happens unexpectedly. And it usually takes for about couple weeks, and then wheels start turning and the government starts working, so to speak. And once the wheels gain speed, oh, they start working like freaking Swiss watch, okay? Very effectively. And it happens every single time. And it also shows, now, listen, this is very careful. Remember, I always say that I create big picture from small details. This is one of the small details. It means that it shows that the global decisions in Russia are made spontaneously by one or very few men, and everyone else is caught by surprise, unprepared. Okay, that's important. And that's what happened on the 21st of September. It happened on the 24th of February because for 2 weeks, Russian government, no one knew what to do. And then it took about 10 days for them to start getting going, start creating new laws and things like that. Whew. I clearly remember the day when that situation of chaos and lack of communication, lack of coordination changed. It was so clear, October 4th, 2022. I think there was a task force organized, put in place inside the government because things changed abruptly. Information started flowing in a normal, organized way. The news became structured. Before, there was complete chaos, including chaos in the news. The government propaganda people, they were given different news, and sometimes, often, those news contradicted one another. That's not good, and all stopped on October 4th. To me, it was a clear sign that one of the agencies, and most likely KGB, was placed in charge of the situation. The early birds of trouble for people who were leaving Russia. They appeared in mid-October. Whoever was issued a mobilization summon, повестка, would automatically get a red flag at passport control. The passport control people, they use this system. I don't know the details, but I assume they use a system that is connected to the, universal database, and it shows if a person who's trying to cross the border is wanted, if there's a warrant for his arrest, her arrest, and things like that. So it's a system that accumulates all information about from different agencies. And before, it didn't work, and it started working around mid-October. So if you get a summon, that the mobilization center who issues you a summon automatically sends information shared with KGB, because KGB is in charge of passport control. Okay, so they share it with KGB, and KGB officers at the passport control, they knew exactly that you were issued a summon. Therefore, they wouldn't let you leave. Red flag. Another sign was situation near Georgia and all over the border with Kazakhstan. There's a quite long border. For the first 2 weeks, there was chaos. The process of leaving Russia looked something like that. Look, you show up at home, and all of a sudden you see in your mailbox is повестка, summon, official paper from mobilization center. It says, you, such and such, are obliged to show up at the mobilization center within 2 days. Bada bing, bada boom. You are in the army now. Oh, you in the army now. That type of thing, Then, or another scenario was you come back home and you see that a couple officers are standing waiting for you. Or they knock on your door, ring the bell, and you expect the call, and you expect the bell, the ring, and you don't open the door. Then, once they leave, you grab a backpack, you throw in the necessities, you take some cash, you run, you take a ride to the border with Georgia, Russia and Georgia, or with Kazakhstan, and you cross the border. You wait in line and you cross the border. And people at the border, they didn't know that you were issued a summon. Before the 15th of, there's no way they could know. But after about 15th of October, what happened, KGB came in with a huge tents, and before passport control, you had to go through a tent. In the tent, there was a computer system with all information about you, including summons. So as soon as they saw that you are summoned, they, and they would send you to the mobilization center. Mobilization people were already waiting for you there. So people simply stopped going to Georgia and Kazakhstan. So they were the early birds, the signs that the government started working. And of course, Russian politicians unleashed hell, publicity hell. They started cursing us, the ones who left Russia. They started calling us traitors. They started calling us criminals. They started threatening us with confiscation of our assets, stripping us citizenship, not allowing us to come back to Russia ever. And a few people, they threatened executions, death, that would kill us. Don't quote me on that, but there was some information, not much, and it wasn't official, that there was a task force within KGB organized to get people abroad who needed to be taken care of, to take care of them. And there were open political statements, so it's not like rumors or anything. People used Telegram, Russian senators, Dmitry Medvedev, I talked about it. Then, another milestone, another stepping stone happened on the 25th of November. Vladimir Putin signed an executive order to create an electronic database of subjects to mobilization. And by subjects, I mean people. The database was supposed to be created and turned into operation by April 1st. Okay, and then towards the end of 2022, things started cooling down. The government started learning mistakes from its mistakes and applying what I call no noise strategy. They stopped talking about mobilization so people wouldn't get overly nervous about that. And they started going into the apartments, houses covertly. Okay, they didn't want to, because before no one cared. The mobilization people would show up, they were filmed. Those videos would circle internet, and everyone was just panicking and running away. That stopped. The next milestone happened on January 17th, 2023. Ministry of Defense, Minister of Defense Sergei Shoigu signed an order to greatly increase the number of Russian armed forces. I think by 500,000 people, or by 400,000 people. Now, another thing would happen. 7 million, over 7 million people were banned from leaving Russia. Russian government said at that point, hey, we're not gonna raise the temperature of society's anger. Okay, we already we've decided to ban people who have debts outstanding to banks, alimony payments, who are serving probations, terms, probations, things like that. So 7 million men like that in Russia, so then they're banned. This is the base for men to be mobilized. We mobilize them first, and then we mobilize everyone after. And numerous reports, I mean, it was absolutely clear that something started happening. The wheels started turning underneath the surface. Very clear. Because you cannot hide. Mobilization, people getting mobilized and sent to Ukraine, it's not like a needle in a huge pile of hay. You cannot hide it. For example, there were numerous reports and people filming on their cell phones at the airports once people, men, were coming into Russia who had been away for a few months. They were detained and questioned. Their telephones were searched. Their computers were searched. Same for some men who were leaving Russia. They were detained. They were questioned. Again, telephone searches, all electronic searches, and so forth. So something was really happening. February and March. And then the most sinister and the most important milestones happened recently. In April, the government officials lied. Again, they lied incredibly in a bold way. They were in the early April. Rumors started circling Russian society that Russian mobilization system legislation was up for a major rehaul. And government officials in charge came up and said, you know what, nothing's going to change. Don't you worry about that. Business as normal, as usual, no changes on the horizon. In 2 weeks, there was a major change. That changed everything. A new law, existing law was amended. Basically, what they created is the database of all subjects subjects to mobilizations. What Putin signed gave an order to create, they created. And just think about this. Before, in order to get mobilized, mobilization people needed to catch you and hand in a piece of paper, made you sign for it. If they didn't do that, it was considered that, you weren't mobilized. This new law changed absolutely everything. Basically, I made an entire stream about that, but the most important change was that there is no need in paper summons and even in electronic summons. Now, this new law introduces electronic summons. They basically can send you a summon by email, and whether you receive it or not, that's your problem. They send it, and it's considered done if you consider it notified. But it goes even further. They now have a database of people subjects to mobilization, and all they need to do is place your name on that database, and that's it. Voila, you are subject, you are mobilized basically. And in 20 days, if you don't show up, if you somehow don't learn that you are part of that database, your name is in there. In Russian, it's called register, electronic register. So if you don't know, that's your problem. In 20 days, they revoke your driver's license. They freeze your bank accounts. You cannot sell or buy real estate. You cannot leave Russia by law. Now, law allows the government to do that. Okay, so they don't want to run and catch you. They don't care anymore. They just put your name on their list, and you will come to them because you are basically eliminated from normal life. But then, folks, that actually goes even further. That new law was made in April, at the end of April. And people started boiling about that. They started, talking, they started getting angry. But that lasted for a couple of weeks as usual, and everything went back to normal. And recently, on May 12th, Vladimir Putin on May 10th got very surprised by the amount of Russians. And again, there are different estimates. From 1 to 3 million people have left Russia since the start of war with Ukraine. I tend to believe it's closer to 3 million people, but again, there are different estimates. When Putin learned about that number, he got very surprised. And he said, well, that's got to change. And on May 12th, 2 days later, there was a new decree amending existing migration law, concept of migration policy, it's called. Hang on. According to this document, Vladimir Putin made changes into existing legislation, migration policy. According to the document, the authorities have started, they need to take additional measures to reduce the outflow of Russians abroad. To me, that sounds sinister, although the document is supposed to be good. The decree says, I quote, in 2022, under the influence of changed socio-economic conditions, surprise, surprise, the migration outflow of the Russian population abroad increased. In this regard, it is necessary to take additional measures to create financial, social, and other mechanisms for preserving human capital, reducing the outflow of population of the Russian Federation abroad. Not a big deal, right? Well, it is a big deal. Very big deal. Two reasons for that document to be a big deal. First, the document itself means one thing. They started paying attention, very close attention, to the number of Russians leaving, and they have made it a priority to decrease the number of Russians. And the second big important reason is, don't forget that many documents, parts of the documents, are made confidential. For example, the decree that Vladimir Putin signed on the 21st of September about mobilization, it has, I think it has 10 articles, 10 or 9. And one of the articles is missing. And that article on the number of mobilized people. So if you go on the site of the Kremlin, on the website, that's an open information, you will see all the official documents signed by Vladimir Putin. And that document on mobilization is there, but it's simply missing one of the articles. It goes like this: article number 7, blah, blah, article number 9. Where's article number 8? And when asked, I think Peskov, Vladimir Putin's spokesperson, said, well, it simply is made confidential. So my question is, how many things are made confidential in this decree? How do we know? We have no way of knowing. But I got very, can't really say afraid because I'm not in Russia, but I got very anxious about this document. And guess what? Not without a reason, because immediately after that document signed by Vladimir Putin, new laws immediately started appearing. Obviously, they had been planned. Like I said, Russian government works by stepping stones. It's very sly. It's very effective. So there was a new law. Folks, it gets better and better, you know. If you get a summon, if your name is placed on the register, electronic register, they still can technically send you a paper summon, but I don't think they will be doing that. So your name is placed on the register. You know what the next thing you must do? No, not to go to the mobilization center. You have a few days for that. You must go to your local police department and give them your foreign travel passport. You cannot have it once you have been mobilized. That's a new law. You cannot leave country without a foreign travel passport. There are two passports in Russian. Internal, we call it, and travel passport. So internal is like domestic passport is your main form of ID. But travel passport is used when you travel outside Russia. I think there are 2 or 3 countries you can use your domestic passport for traveling. For example, Armenia, Kazakhstan, don't quote me on that, but 2 or 3 countries. But I think soon that's going to change. So, 5 days. You must show up within 5 days, give up your passport, travel passport. Now, there's another law, another amendment. And it gets even better. Before, the law stated that no one can take your travel passport away from you. That's your property, you know. When you go to a border, and for example, you owe someone money, you are banned from leaving Russia. They simply look at your passport and say, well, we do not allow you to travel. There's a ban. And I think they stamp something, or perhaps don't even stamp, but they give your passport back and you just turn around and you leave. Now, the government has right to take your passport away at the border for many reasons, not just mobilization. For example, if you owe someone money, before you simply could not leave Russia, now they take your passport away. If they suspect that while receiving the passport, you must fill out paperwork, you know, if they suspect that you gave some kind of fake information, they have a right to take your passport away and do an investigation about that. Uh, if they feel like your passport is not in a good shape to travel, worn out, you know, has wrinkles, things like that, they have a right to take your passport, to seize your passport. Um, if they have suspicion that your passport is fake, simply, you bought it or the black market or whatever, they have a right to seize your passport and do a thorough investigation. And not just at the spot, but they take your passport and probably will take days or weeks. Okay. So I have tried to paint you a picture of how Russian government has been descending the new Iron Curtain, the new one, the updated, the improved, the digital Iron Curtain. Russian government always works. It's never a revolution. It's always an evolution, stepping stone strategy. You call it, or some of you might call it, boiling the frog strategy. These people have gone to the point where if they want to single out anyone, any Russian citizen, for for any reason, they have enough tools in their hands not to let that person out of the country. Not necessarily because due to mobilization, but they can do it to women, to children, to anyone. Folks, I've been there before. I've done that. I smelled it and it stunk. It smelled like crap. That's right. It was called the old good USSR. The same thing was in the USSR. You could not leave the country. And once they take away that right to leave the country, this is it. You have lost everything. You have lost all the freedoms because you are not free to live anymore. In Russia, lots of people still have, at this point, still have freedom to live. Okay. But at this point, the government already possesses all the tools to not let any person out of the country. And that's pretty sad and pretty scary because leaving is our human right. Well, some people don't think so. Folks, thank you so much. That's been my message for today. I hope you learned something interesting for you. I invite you to continue to live stream chat. I would like to converse and answer questions. I'll try to answer as many as possible. Before I do that, I ask you to help me out a little bit to help spread my message by making reposts of today's stream on your social media accounts. And would you please consider signing up for my Telegram channel called Inside Konstantin's Russia? The link will be in the description below. That's where I keep all the announcements and, I informed on changes on the channel. And if you'd like to buy me a coffee, you could do that. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so very much again. Thank you for giving me a chance. I am turning on the live stream chat now. I'm seeing wonderful mods. Hang on. Lorna, Mommy, Bob, Blackhead, Amir, um, Harry. Howdy, howdy. Thank you for coming. Thanks for watching my back again. I appreciate it. And the usual suspects, fantastic to see everyone. Thank you very much. I see lots of sponsors and patrons. I remind you that on Saturday at the usual time, we'll have a private stream for sponsors and patrons. Fewer people, low paced, lots of personal conversations and questions. Please come. It's always fun. Usually my favorite stream of the week. Thank you so much. If you want me to notice your messages easier, would you please put them in caps and put Inside Russia after @ so the messages appear highlighted in orange? That helps a lot to notice them easiest. Just like Mr. Kaliskian did. Hello from Chicago. Howdy, howdy from Tashkent. Maryland, Spain. The usual geography today. Sam K, howdy. Chirper, Pamela J, Faith Russard, Brother Randall, Frank in Texas, Julia W, Mario, Andrew Hodson from South Africa, howdy. Andy Smith received a sponsorship gift. Saskatchewan, Canada, hooked by Donian. Hope you and the family is good. As good as it can be right now. Thank you so much, Veronica. First super chat, I'm back. Mid-April 2022, zinc prices almost doubled in a very short time. Russian military coffins are zinc. Why would someone be using so much zinc around 18/4/22 to cause such a massive jump in price? Are you sure? Are you sure you're not mistaken? What they use for coffins is very cheap. I'm not sure it's like 100% zinc. It's called zinc in Russia. It's like a nickname. But why would they use it if they could use something else less expensive, you know? I don't understand. They're not made out of zinc. There's no reason for that. Ann Larson from Sweden. Howdy, howdy. Marek from Slovakia. Hello. Arturo, I have a female Russian friend who's going to Russia with her child. Are they safe to return back to the States? Any obstacles expected? For Katya, I respond in Russian. For her, I shared. I'm not sure. You want me to respond in Russian? How about I do that in English and then you translate? I would not be worrying too much about that. At this point, they're definitely not grabbing. Well, Russia is not at the point where there's a complete ban on leaving for anyone. No. Most likely, the chances are very high. She will not have a problem going to Russia and then leaving. Men do have problems right now. I know a person who was actually two people. I personally know a person, and then one of the members of this live stream chat, this community, told me a story, this same kind of a story. So the two people recently were just turned down, were not allowed to leave Russia. And when asked why, they said, why don't you go and check out your local mobilization centers? That's the exact response they got. So I wouldn't be worrying, Arthur. I would not be worrying about them going to Russia and coming back. That's all I gotta say. Ed, how is the family? Been gone for 9 months. Family or you? Ed, thank you for coming back. It's fantastic to see you. Where did you go? Family is good. Everyone's alive. Everyone is safe. Everyone is. All in all, is good. There are so many more people who are in much worse positions and situations than us. So I'm really grateful and thankful to God for this. So thank you very much. Fantastic to see you back, and thanks for asking. Thank you for your support. Nottinghamshire, England, howdy. Super Rosie. Robert Whibb, good evening. Kays, howdy, howdy. Mama two boys. Erwin. Amir is installing some software at work, so we'll be quietly listening for a few minutes. That is fine, Amir. Thank you for coming anyway. Dive Crew Canada from Canadiana. Howdy. Just like North Korea, I assume you mean yes. Hard to disagree with you. Well, North Korea is way worse. I mean, don't compare Russia to North Korea, at least yet. North Korea is you cannot get in, you cannot get out, you cannot walk freely. You must, if you're a tourist, it's really hard to get in. You must have a KGB agent all around you all the time. You cannot take pictures. I mean, Russia is not North Korea. Okay, I don't want to make that comparison. But the vector of the way is pretty clear. Augusto Ledesma, howdy, howdy, from Mexico. Wow. Urupan. I think as times goes by, I become worse and worse with names. I don't know why. So glad to see someone from Mexico. Fantastic country. Russian and Ukraine population was declining fast before the war, and now is terribly worse. How do you think the population will be after the war? Well, what can I say? It's a disaster. For both Russia and Ukraine, it's a disaster. I can't say that Russian population was declining fast, by a few 100,000 people every year, but now I don't know what to tell you. The exodus, the dead men in Ukraine, there's so many disabled people will be coming back. There will be so fewer kids born. Families are in dire straits financially. They start saving money. They don't want to have kids. They leave for other countries. This is crazy. Ukraine is also, I mean, how many hundreds of thousands of people have been killed in Ukraine? I mean, just take that into consideration. That's a tragedy. Pretty much you're right. It's a tragedy and it's terribly worse now, and I don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, what can happen? What will they import Chinese from China? Terry Carter from Pulaski, Sonny Pulaski. Howdy, howdy. Frank in Texas. Talk. I lost. The chat jumped again. There you go. Elsha, howdy. All your streams are so precious for now and the future. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sending love to the Netherlands. Jens Jensen from Denmark. Howdy. Jim Flagg, is there an age cutoff for the selected men? Good question, thank you. There is an official age cutoff, but in reality, they've been grabbing men of different ages. I know personally a man of 62 who went to serve, came back 2 or 3 months after. Obviously, he did not take any, participation in the fighting. But 62, he was mobilized. I have heard of men around 60 years old mobilized in Rostov. Mobilization people, they have a plan. They don't care. They just come in, bada bing, bada boom. They send you to the front lines. No one's gonna do anything to them for that. No one's gonna fine them, or they're not gonna lose their job because of that. Yeah, they have a plan, and they meet the plan. They have KPI. Craig, do you not own your passport? It is government travel document, and the owner is the government. US, Canada at least. You can destroy the passport intentionally to cover illicit travel, for example. I've never heard of that. I've never heard that passport is not your property. But what I knew for sure is that I know for sure that before the government could not seize your passport for any reason. They could arrest you. Yes, they could turn you away from the border. Yes, they could do that, but no one could seize your passport. Just like they cannot seize your domestic passport. Stefano Botti, howdy. Doing well. Ciao. Artur, I already read that about female Russian. A9S2W5. I'd be interested to hear Konstantin inside on S2 demographics. Who has predominantly been mobilized? There's info that there's been targeted ethnic groups, rural areas, non-city. I've talked about it at least a dozen times already. Yes, you are absolutely right. Moscow has been avoided mostly. St. Petersburg has been avoided because they don't want to anger people in Moscow and St. Petersburg. Okay, that's how Russian government works. Moscow and St. Petersburg, cream of the crop. Everything great happens. So much money go to these two cities. Big cities, they did not touch many people, but oh boy, countryside, rural areas, they would came in and then just clean out the area. Take all the men, old, young, doesn't matter who they could find. A fella named Alex, if you remember, he came from Lisazavodsk. I helped him out a little bit, brought him to Tashkent, and then he traveled to Mexico, crossed the border in El Paso, and now he's waiting for a political asylum case. So he told me the story. He said that his city of 100,000 people, and it's in the middle of taiga. Their business is basically to cut down trees, and dozens of buses came in, police force, and everyone they could find, all men, they just grabbed and sent them to the front lines, to the mobilization centers, and then to Ukraine. So there you have it. Dave Strains, howdy, howdy. Reinhard from Berlin, hello, guten Abend. Brother Randall, thank you for a particularly interesting and informative message today. Thank you, I tried. I'm so thankful you were able to leave Russia when you did. Me too. Brother Randall makes two of us. Freaking YouTube closed me out, says Lorna. That's not good. YouTube is in trouble. Miss Nikki42, hello from Ohio. Have a great weekend with your family and friends. Thank you so very much. Not weekend yet. One more day to go, Friday, but it's going to be fairly easy day. Mikhail Vorontsov, привет, Konstantin. What do you make of Maxim Katz? Asked this before with no answer from you. I think he's a great, well, he's a reporter or he's a political activist. I don't know which one. Anyway, whatever he is, he's great. I like Maxim Katz. I don't watch him often. I don't have much time to watch other YouTubers, to be honest with you. I am all inside Telegram channels, and I'm reading the news, and I try to keep my hand on top of things. I've seen a few things by Maxim Katz. My wife directed me to a couple videos of him. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine from France just sent me a picture 2 hours ago. Him with Maxim Katz. He met him at the airport and took a selfie with him. Coincidence, but that's my take on him. He's very professional and excellent reporter, excellent reporting. Taco Lover, howdy, and welcome back. I've long time no see. Thank you for your support. How about coming to America for a speaking tour? I am on a speaking tour. I've been on a speaking tour since February 24th, 2022. And I'm supported by Lorna, Mammy K, Bob S, Harry Potter, Amir, Black Cat, Every single day I get up and speak in front of you. So I would love to come to America for a speaking tour. We could all meet up in Vegas for a huge party and tacos too. Tacos would be on you. I would love that. I would love that. Marcus, thank you so much. In Austria, governmental decree about corona restrictions were checked by the Constitutional Court. Is there a similar procedure in Russia regarding decrees? Was out for 10 minutes. Hope my question is new. Your question is new. Thank you, Marcus. My answer is short. Nothing like that. No procedures like that. The decree is signed by the president. That's it. Constitutional Court does not get involved. Constitutional Court is a puppet in Russia, basically. You think too much of the level of democracy in Russia. Paul Bins, howdy. Long time no see. Paul, would you please let us know if you still want us to pray for you every single day and night as we do? Thank you so much. Nancy Darling, I appreciate the support. Thank you. Good job. Thank you. Quebec, Canada, indeed. Gilbert. I've gone blind in my good eye at Inside Russia. Is it a joke or what's going on, Alvin? Back. There and back again. Andy Smith, it is terrible situation for the Russian population to get to. Will the Russian people learn from this and take more care with the politician they choose in the future? That's a very difficult question, Andy. We will see. I hope they will, but They already had one chance, 1991. Okay, they should have been more careful with the politicians they were choosing. They weren't. You see what has happened now. The whole situation in Russia right now reminds me. Um, I don't know how many of you have seen the movie. I like the movie very much. It's called The Perfect Storm. The Perfect Storm. George Clooney is at the movie. It's about a fishing boat from Gloucester, Massachusetts, and it's based on it's a true story. It's based on true events. Back in early '90s, there was a huge storm, so-called perfect storm, and this boat headed right into the perfect storm. And what happened? They were fighting storm like crazy at the end of the movie, and then all of a sudden, the waves kind of calmed down, and the wind died down, and they saw sun. They saw, clouds went away for a very short time, and that was the eye of the storm. So, metaphorically, that's what I think of Russian situation right now. You see, we had a huge storm in the 90s and up until 90s, and then from 91 until 2008, 2010 perhaps, we were in the eye of the storm where everything was normal, no wind, no waves, sun shining, nice weather. But that was the eye of a storm. And after 2008, 2010, perhaps 2009, waves, huge storm, 90-foot tall waves, and death. You know, that's how I'm feeling. Dirk, howdy. Joseph Nadu, thank you. People can cross the US border all the time illegally. How hard it is to cross out the Russian border? Very difficult. I think you could cross at a remote area. Very difficult. Russian border is locked. The only case I know is two Russians. They took a boat and actually a rowing boat, and they sailed to, well, they didn't sail, but they did rowing from Russia through the Bering Straits, which is 40 miles, into the United States, into Alaska. And that's the only case I know how people cross the border illegally. Russian border is basically closed. Closed. The amount of forces, KGB is in charge of border, amount of forces allocated to protect the border, to keep the others out and Russians in, is incredible. If there wasn't no guards, that everyone would be just running away from Russia. Chirper, howdy. Couldn't watch yesterday's stream live, so watched it live. Yet another great stream. Thank you so much. I don't know how you do it. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know neither, right? I don't know either. Neither. I don't know either. There you go. Well done. Thank you. I'm not sure how well I'll keep it up, but I'll try. I'll try my best. Thank you. Dave's Michigan basement, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Dave. Uh, Dacian rider. Why are Russians so inclined to shake it for portrait? Not sure what you mean. Uh, Devil's Clutch. Can you speak about the fire? I think it was an inside job because it's really difficult to get inside that area, that building. Imagine, it's like getting inside of Pentagon. I don't think you can do that. So what were they burning in there? Probably, most likely, covering the tracks. Folks, things are not well in Russia. It's feverish, okay? And it's feverish inside the government. If you haven't heard the Prigozhin interview over 1 hour, he talks very boldly about possible revolution in Russia. First time I hear speaking something like that. And remember, first there's a word, then next there's action. So Prigozhin has just spoken the word. Could be anything there, but I think they're covering up the tracks. LM, thank you so much. Russian border closed, one word, Belgrade. Pavlia flex, well, listen, Russian border closed to keep Russians in. I didn't say anything about others keeping them out. Okay, now make no mistake about it. There's a make a huge difference between that. I've been talking about keeping Russians in. Guy L, will they use this law to stop the families of the men that left Russia and stop their families? Oh, I hope not. There hasn't been any discussions of that at this point. I hope not. But this Russian government, you can expect anything of it. I forgot to tell you in the stream, that is important. They also are discussing a new law, and this is just days after Putin signed this new migration policies to keep Russians away from leaving. So they're discussing this new law that they can not only they can take the passports at the border patrol at the border crossing, they can nullify passports even for Russians who are abroad for certain reasons. You're abroad with your passport, and all of a sudden, boom, it's nullified by the Russian government. Other countries will know that, but once you come back to Russia, you travel without passport. That, my friends, is offense. Okay, so that's also something sinister. Just Terry, what would we? Do, what would you? What? Oh, what's wrong with my mouth today? I can hardly speak. What would we do without you, Kay? Well, Jester, what would we do without you? Marek, a guy from Slovakia, tried to swim over a river to get to Russia, got arrested. Why would he do that? One guy crossed illegally into Norway, Wagner defector, and now he's asking to be sent back to Russia for some reason. Yeah. Uh, Viking, that's true. Well, things happen. Okay, I've heard of the guy. That's, I guess, case number two when someone crosses the border illegally, but it's extremely difficult. Okay, that's my point. And that is another case. If you're a Wagner fighter, if you committed crimes, they will take you with hands wide open. But if you're a law-abiding citizen, no such luck. Pentium 100. Again, make no mistake about it. I've been talking today about Russian government keeping Russians in. I didn't say anything about others keeping out. Terry Carter, curious to see Russians try southern biscuits and gravy. Might be interesting to see. I've tried southern biscuits and gravy. It's good. Everything's good. Now you're talking food. That's interesting. By the way, I'd like to make an announcement for an extra stream on Saturday, 1 or 2 hours before our usual patron and sponsor stream. We're looking for an authentic place with a huge oven so we can show how people in Uzbekistan cook food authentic style. So, allegedly, it's not set for time, but around 6 p.m. So, around 9 a.m. in Los Angeles and around noon in New York, something like that. Devil's Clutch, do you think more women will leave Russia while they can? Of course, of course. Both men and women leave. Men left initially, women catching up, and lots of women, single women, also leaving. They can't stand what Russia doing in Ukraine, so they just that's their stand. They get up and go. There are plenty of women who came without husbands. They don't have husbands, but they just came and then they attend Breakfast Club. They are part of our community. Alvin F, it's no joke. I assure you, inside Russia. Uh, I'm so sorry. We'll pray for you. Okay, friends. Well, thank you so much. Let's invite everyone to finish the stream and prayer as usual. Let me grab my book first. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for giving us this day. Thank you for putting food on our table, on our tables. Thank you for giving us roofs over our heads. Thank you for surrounding us with people who we love and who love us. Please keep our children safe and healthy and give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads peaceful and raise them in a way when they grow up they will do a better job with this world than we have done. Dear Lord, please stop the bloodshed in Ukraine. We keep on praying and asking you every single day. Um, the country has suffered so much and people suffered so much. Please, please reach out and touch the hearts and souls of people responsible, people capable of making this decision. Wake them up from their lethargic sleep so they wake up and make this decision to stop the bloodshed. And please help every single Ukrainian who has been affected by this terrible tragedy answer their prayers and make their wishes come true. Please send every Ukrainian an angel so the angels keep people away from danger, away from harm's way. Please help my country, Russia, make it, well, have your strongest angels with sharpest swords, led by Saint Michael, come down to this earth and get rid of the demons who have hijacked my country. Make it run by angels, make it peaceful, make it decent, make it normal again, please. Dear Lord, please send help to everyone who are traveling. Send them safe travels and send help to everyone who is seeking for asylum, especially families. Please help all the Ukrainians who are currently in dire straits and send your help, send good people their way. Thank you so much for to everyone who is helping Ukraine, opening their doors, hearts, wallets for Ukrainian people. God bless them. Dear Lord, please help everyone who is sick, hungry, jobless, homeless, depressed, losing faith, has low self esteem. Shine your heavenly light upon those people and send them love, send them your warmth, so they feel good again about their lives. They get up and have this forgotten feeling of life being good. Please help them, every single person who is having troubles. Dear Lord, please send us all peaceful skies, because regardless of where we are and who we are, we need it. Dear Lord, please reach out and talk to every single pregnant woman out there who is deciding whether to keep her baby or not. Reach out to all of them and speak to them so they make the right choice. Dear God, please, thank you so much for this community, for the relationships that are born in this community. Thank you for the miracles that are born here every day. Thank you for allowing us to come together and pray. Thank you for hearing everyone praying. Please answer everyone's prayer and make everyone's wish come true. Dear Lord, I'd like to mention a few people who need your help real bad. They are Greg, Jim and Shirley Hall, Delaney and her children, Ann Larson, family and daughter Hannah, Florentina, Max family, Sherry Morin, CKOC, Brian Wilkes, Amir's Uncle Dicky, Patty L., Liz Dumbrell and her grandparents. Thank you for helping Matthias, Ripted, daughter of Aspen English, Ruth, Paul, Susan, Rudy Kaisley, Darla, Alona and her boys, Bip, Santa's Whiskey, Paula McDonald, White Lightning, George Ruberty, Dave Strains, Pam, Margaret, Linda Trombley, RT, Per, Sarah Stokes, all single mothers struggling to make ends meet, Wayne, Shirley, Debbie, Jen Allen, Finola, Lars Henrik and Lars Henrik's mother, Essie from the Scottish Isles, the Highwayman, Outlander and family, Choriz and family, David Porter and his family and daughter, and all people in Chernovtsi, Ukraine, Lars, Susan Marshall, Beulah, Lazarus, Boss Simon, Teresa D., Alvin, please send recovery and please send help with his eye, Alvin's sister, Terry Carter, Joe and Lee McMahon, Meta Spencer, Deanna and her family, Bree's friend, Caroline, Albina Fell, Michael Yukon, Joel, Life, Karin Wasser, Pamela J, Lindsay, Daniel 9, Larry, Yelena, Natasha, Jake, Michael, Brittany S, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Bonnie, Svetlana, Karen, Janine, Michael Milkevitz, Marlene, Paul Beans, Richard, Mallory M, Dirk Misler, Linda, Terry, Richard Burris, Angelic at Life, and Scan Family's grandson, Randolph, Barb, Nell, Arkady, and Yuri, Harry's family, Merlinda's niece, Priscilla, Michelin, King Nero, Gaby Hyman, Donald, Deborah, Jade, Kaltenberg, Lisa's son, Maureen M. and her sister, Allison, Dave Moyers, Bob, Matt, Umel, Jennifer, Ashley, and family, Mr. Dean Spooner and his church called Our Savior Lutheran Church, Lisa Kumrian, Jacob, Adam Oliver, Amy, Treasure, Kyle's wife, Grace Philosophy, please send recovery. She really needs it, and shine her heavenly light upon your heavenly light upon her and her family and her granddaughters. Maggie, Vladislav and Sergey, Susie Myler, Gina, Wayfarer, Liz, Lori Miles' husband, Sherry, Layla, Philip's mother, and Thomas Fowles' mother. I would like to ask for very special children for you to send them recovery. They are Cadence, Maverick, Sebastian, Theo, Muddy, Coulter, Ansley, and niece of Karin Lesser. Please send recovery and send strength to their families. Also, please help all the children from Ukraine who have been affected and all the children from Russia who have also been affected. Please send recovery to all children, regardless where they're from, who are not feeling well right now. Thank you so much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you. Amen. Thank you so much, my friends. It's been a good stream. Thank you. You're absolutely awesome. You rock. Thank you for giving me a chance. And please come back tomorrow for another message at the usual time. It'd be a pleasure to see everyone. Thank you. Before I go, I invite everyone to, as usual, say along with me out loud, Carthago delenda est.